So the Biden administration has said that regarding domestic oil production, that there are 9,000 leases that have yet to be used, that production is near record levels. Both Republicans and Democrats have called for this ban on Russian oil. Does industry have some responsibility at some point to increase production on their own? Or what would you like the Biden administration to do in that regard?
Well, President Biden and the Biden White House's talking points on energy are both inane and contradictory. The Biden White House maintains that decreasing supply does not impact price. If you look at how Joe Biden started his presidency, he started it with a war on U.S. oil and gas. You know, President Biden tried to say this week, the increase in gas prices is due to Putin. I understand the Russians are the favorite talking point for Democrats. We spent 4 years under Trump hearing Democrats say Russia, 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 and now the Biden White House wants to say all of the disaster of inflation, that's Russia's fault too. The one problem is the facts. On day one as president, Joe Biden canceled the Keystone Pipeline. He killed 11,000 high-paying jobs, including 8,000 union jobs. On day one, he halted all new leases on federal lands, both onshore and offshore. And shortly thereafter, he halted development of ANWR, the incredibly rich, small portion of Alaska that has vast petroleum reserves. Not only that, he unleashed federal regulators to descend like locusts on oil and gas producers in the United States. And the results were exactly what they intended, which is U.S. production went down. In 2019, America became energy independent, thanks to common sense principles enacted with a Republican Congress, and under President Trump, we were energy independent and a net energy exporter. Last year, under 2021, we lost that status. We are now a net energy importer, thanks to the disaster of the Biden energy policies. As the rig count plummeted, our production plummeted, and when supply drops, prices skyrocket. Before Putin ever invaded Ukraine, gasoline prices in the United States had risen 48%. And their latest talking point is there's all these wonderful permits that just the oil companies, for whatever reason, don't want to drill upon. Now, I understand that the White House's talking points are written by an 18-year-old intern who's taking freshman socialism. But it would be good to have someone who's actually worked in the private sector and has some awareness of how energy is produced. Energy producers will drill for oil and gas wherever it is profitable, wherever it is viable. Many of those permits are not being drilled because if you got a natural gas well that you're trying to drill, you have to have a pipeline to carry the gas from the well to its end users. And the Biden administration is also freezing pipelines. You've got to have an environment where those resources can be profitably developed. I'll give you something Joe Biden could do today to both hurt Russia and affect prices. There are 6 applications pending right now in the Biden administration to export liquid natural gas. They're sitting on all 6 of them. At the State of the Union, I pulled Tony Blinken, the Secretary of State, aside and said, Tony, if you want to do something to really hurt Putin, tomorrow Biden should go on national television and approve all 6. And have the Europeans start signing long-term energy contracts with American producers instead of Russia. There is nothing we could do that would more fundamentally weaken Putin's standing at home and limit his ability to wage war than cut off the revenue he makes from selling oil and natural gas to Europe and others.
Let me give an example in my state. My state, we were producing 1.5 million barrels a day. Just a little while ago, 1.5 million barrels a day. We're down to 1.1 million barrels a day. That's just for North Dakota. That's 400,000 barrels a day that we don't have because of all the restrictions, the regulatory burdens, all the things that Senator Cruz just talked about. Okay? And that's just one state. Now apply that to Texas and New Mexico, Alaska. You know, so clearly without all these restrictions and regulations, we could, take the handcuffs off. We can produce a lot more gas and oil. Or how about the fact that we're flaring gas? In my state right now we have stranded natural gas that we have to flare because we can't get the gathering systems and the permits to get that to market, or the LNG facilities. All these things have an impact right now as well as in the medium and longer term. How it defies common sense that at a time with energy prices spiking, $4.25 a gallon is the average today, and it's going up here at home. Our allies need oil and gas. Instead of saying, hey, let's empower American ingenuity to produce this oil and gas here where we have the best environmental stewardship in the country, and instead he's going around to Maduro in Venezuela or Iran or anywhere else. I mean, it's unbelievable. So that's what we're saying. That's what the American people know should be done right now. It's common sense. The Biden administration needs to change course, and let's get going on producing oil and gas, producing energy in this country.
Let me take it. Wait, before you do that, let me take. You guys are smarter than this, okay? I know you are. I really know you are. I can't believe you let them get away with that kind of baloney that they're peddling. I'm going to use just one narrow part of it that the American people will understand. Prior to the Ukrainian war, in the last 2 weeks in February, there were zero Russian oil came in. They shut the private sector shut it off themselves. Said we're not going to do it. Prior to that, we were bringing in 600,000 barrels a day from Russia into the United States of America. Prior to them cutting it off in February, I went up, as did my friends here, and watched Biden get sworn in on the front steps. An hour later, he walked into the president's room. He took his papers and started signing executive orders. And one of them he shut down the Keystone Pipeline. 700,000 gallons a day. Would you rather have, 700,000 barrels a day. Would you rather have 600,000 come in from Russia that you're paying Russian for, getting them rich, or would you rather have 700,000 barrels a day coming in from Canada and having our workers be employed by that? This is outrageous, absolutely outrageous for them to try to point the finger and say, oh, this is somebody else's fault. It's the Biden administration's fault. You guys are smarter than this. I know you are.
Let me jump on this pile here, because it's actually really important. First, I agree with Ted on the, high school intern on these talking points. So actually, by the way, when you look at leases, I would love it if you guys looked at where the vast majority of federal leases in the first year of the Biden administration went to. Over half went to one state. My state, his state, his state. No, New Mexico. Secretary of Interior from New Mexico. You might want to look into that one. Very interesting to me. But the way it works, and the White House should know it, but maybe they don't, you issue a lease, and then there's still tons more permits and requirements that you have to get from the federal government. It's not just one lease and it's all good. And on almost every one of these in Alaska, we have to get permission to build what's called an ice road, because as John Hoven's saying, we have these super high environmental standards. Every move, we have to get permission and permitted on federal lands, and they are blocking it. In year one, this administration has issued 22 executive orders or executive actions solely focused on Alaska. 22! Could you imagine if Joe Biden were still a senator and a Republican administration came in and issued in year one 22 executive orders focused on puny little Delaware? He would be on the floor raising hell every day. This is exactly what they're doing. They are nickel and diming our resource development sector, our energy sector, to try to get them to stop producing. And they've been successful. And my state, unfortunately, has been ground zero. See it almost every day.